Welcome on to the next edition of Up. It is a Comrades Marathon podcast brought to you by CoachParry.com. My name is Brad Nadauld. We've got the Coach Lindsey Parry with us once again. And today we are talking about where should you be right now as we head towards the end of July 2025 in the build-up to next year's Up Run. It's been 4 weeks, as we said, coming out of Comrades. We're going to change things up on this podcast a little bit, get some special guests on, and we'll get the coach on every now and again. It's now one of those now and again moments. Lindsey, nice to have you back on the podcast.
Yeah, awesome to chat to our Comrades base again. We are obviously a very long way away from Comrades, but it does feel like the momentum that was created in for Comrades 2025 is really just carrying on. So lots of excitement with people just know we're within a year and they all want to get in qualifiers early, and still just no end to the Comrades enthusiasm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're getting questions. When are entries opening? We've people want training plans. It just has not slowed down. And just hearing the chatter in the WhatsApp groups and at my running club and a whole bunch of other running clubs as well. Lindsey, you are spot on. The enthusiasm for Comrades, I think, is as much as ever. People love the race, and we are ticking over. The last time we spoke, you said we could hang out on the dark side for a little while. We needed to make sure we were 100% recovered. 4 weeks on from that now, as we head towards the end of July, we're going to be talking about where you should be right about now, when you can start training a little bit harder if you are planning on qualifying later this year. But before we get into the training stuff, Lindsey, I think just some housekeeping to take care of. We spoke about it on this podcast probably 4 weeks ago, where poor old Devlin at the Comrades Marathon Expo, everybody thought he was me and gave him so much flack because he was at the Expo for 3 days in the build-up to Comrades, and I said I wasn't going to be there. And then on race day, everybody thought I had bailed because they saw him on the side of the road. But I just wanted to send a shout out to Devlin and his wife, Nicole. They had a baby boy just on a week ago. So, congratulations to Devlin. We've got a newest member of Team Coach Parry.
Yeah, pretty cool. He's very excited. Looking forward to seeing Dev be a superstar dad, and obviously Nicole coming through it well and healthy. That's always good news. The whole team very excited. He's been a little bit battened down, making sure he's learning his little lighty, because as we know, they don't come with an instruction manual. They don't have an LCD screen on their forehead, and it doesn't matter what advice people give you. You've got to figure out how your own little machine works. So good luck to Dev on his journey.
Yeah, Lindsey, and let's be honest, as guys, if they did come with instruction manuals, we wouldn't read them anyway. So it doesn't really make much of a difference. And the only bit, I've got 3 kids, so the only bit of parenting advice I can give Dev, when you buy a pack of nappies and it says like 3 to 4 kilograms, that's all those suckers will hold. You have to change those nappies fairly often. Otherwise, they start pouring out the sides. So, like with the kilogram rating, crucial that you change the nappy before it holds more than 4 kilograms of whatever it needs to hold. So, that is super important, Dev, just so you know. It gets very messy if you let it go way over those kilogram ratings. Absolutely. Lindsey, let's get into training advice now. There's lots of talk, particularly down here in Cape Town, about Cape Town Marathon coming up. And I was looking at the calendar. I think it's about 13 weeks as we record this now. I think 12 weeks to go is a week from now. If people are planning on running Cape Town and it is sold out, I say and Cape Town, but there are other marathons happening around the country and around the world as well. What sort of advice would you give people training-wise? Where should we be right about now?
Yeah, so look, if I take if I take Cape Town specifically into account, then we really want to start training for our marathon 12 weeks out. So for Cape Town, that is the 27th. So that'll be a week today, 27th of July. You really want to start your build up to the Cape Town Marathon. In terms of where the collective and everybody who's running Comrades, where should they be? You really, if you've done your 2 to 3 weeks of rest, if you've done a really slow build up to build up nicely, you should be in a pretty good position now to start training formally again. I did run with a couple of people on Friday, and one or two of them said like they're definitely not sore anymore, but every time they try and run a little bit hard, they still feel a little bit of fatigue. So that is the reality of Comrades, is that it takes a lot out of you. But by and large, you should be pretty much recovered now. Maybe a little bit of lingering mental and physical fatigue, but you can really start to build up now, get into a groove, get consistent. For people that are running a marathon much later in the year, I would actually use the time to sharpen up a little bit, maybe to target a 5K, fast 5K park run, target a fast 10K or a half marathon, kind of in the sort of September-ish region, and then build up to a marathon maybe in November. So that's kind of how I'd speak to the collective. In terms of the Cape Town people, yeah, get into your groove. Hopefully you're in a bit of a groove already, but just know that when you get to the 27th, that's your 12-week window. And that's where you really want to start pushing out that mileage and start to get those marathon specific workouts going. And then we start building towards October for the Cape Town Marathon.
Yeah, absolutely. Lindsey, and just some more housekeeping as well for people who are planning on running the Cape Town Marathon. The good news is we have launched a Cape Town Marathon podcast here at coachparry.com. It's hosted by two of our team. They are phenomenal. Jamie Hutting and Tutu Letseka. So be sure to check that out. Okay, I'll pop the link in the description of this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can watch them. If you're listening on a podcast player, just click on the link in the description of the podcast that you're on now, and you'll be able to open it up. And they're going to be publishing every single Sunday between now and race day. The second episode went out yesterday, so if you haven't checked it out yet, please do. It's the Cape Town Marathon podcast. And then also today, if you're listening to this on the day that we publish it, they are hosting a masterclass, basically Cape Town Marathon masterclass, exactly what you need to do training-wise. It is this evening, Monday, the 21st, I think it is today, Monday, the 21st of July at 8 p.m. You can watch that masterclass. I'll pop the link in the description as well that you can register for that and make sure you don't miss out. It is going to be absolutely phenomenal. So definitely go check that out. Both those links are in the podcast player and the description of this one. Linz, if someone's decided they're not going to qualify towards the end of this year, and maybe this could be someone who didn't run Comrades in 2025, maybe they just got fired up and they're basically going from couch to Comrade, which is quite interesting. I had a braai with a friend of ours last night, not last night, on Saturday night. It was a 50th birthday get-together, and they were talking about they liked the ring of the couch to Comrades. It took them 2 years, and they ran their first Comrades this year. But what sort of advice would you give someone if they're not training for Cape Town Marathon? Maybe they're just getting started now, and they're looking at 2026 as their first Comrades. Where should they be right about now?
Yeah, so on a program that builds up very slowly, and we always have to talk about two different versions. So your friend took 2 years, so that's kind of the off the couch, very beginner. And if that's you want to build up very slowly. So the slower you build up, the more sustainable the changes, the least likely you are to get injured, and the more time you allow yourself to actually do strength training so that you can prepare your body for the increasing volumes as you go along. So if you are a runner, and so you're not new to running, but you want to do your first Comrades next year, I would still look at your level of experience and go, like, it's probably not a bad option to get your qualifier done around about November, maybe early December at the latest. And then obviously if you're off the couch, yeah, I would probably look at somewhere between April and October 2026 to build up really slowly to that point. So pretty much anyone who's not planning on qualifying or running Comrades, some people will be looking at Cape Town. I don't know why I keep getting those two mixed up, but anyone who's not looking to run or not looking to qualify, so they might be looking to run at Cape Town Marathon but not qualify yet. It's just going to be their first marathon. They want to experience that. I'll clump all of those people into a similar bracket in terms of just what they should be doing right now. And that is get into your 3 to 4 runs a week and your 2 to 3 strength sessions per week. I haven't mentioned that yet, but I always feel like that this is the best time of the year. We don't have any excuses. Like, it's still not warm enough outside, although it's been a lot more pleasant in the last 7 days. It's still very dark. So actually, no excuse not to start doing your strength training. More pleasant to be indoors than it is to be outdoors at this time of year. So get your strength training in. For absolute beginners, that is your secret weapon to really minimize your risk of getting injured. For the people who have done Comrades or who are runners, strength training is your secret weapon for both preventing or reducing your injury risk, but also improving your performance, especially when it gets to ultramarathon running, where being really nice and strong is its own secret weapon.
Yeah, Lindsey, it's quite interesting you talk about strength training because often, and it was so cool being at that get together on Saturday, because often we forget, like we talk about this so often that we forget about what we don't like we forgot what we didn't know, if that makes sense. And you and I have been doing these podcasts and webinars and build-ups to Comrades, I think, for the last probably close on 13 years. So we often sort of breeze over things that we know are important, but we've spoken about it so many times that we kind of just pay lip service to it. And strength training is one of them. And that was one of the questions that popped up at the Bri on Saturday. Was someone was saying they hate going to a gym. That's why they don't do strength training. And when you talk strength training, do you have to be going to your local Virgin Active and pumping iron? Because I'm also not a huge fan of the sort of weight area of gyms. I'm not a massive fan. But do we have to be going and bench pressing hundreds of kilograms and sort of leg pressing stuff? Like, tell us your idea of strength training. Where should we start and what sort of stuff should we be doing? If you're over 50 and want to recover from sessions faster, run pain and injury-free, and improve your endurance, then be sure to join Lindsey and I for our upcoming Faster Beyond 50 Masterclass. In it, we'll show you how we helped a 70-year-old run a 47-minute, 18-second 10K and how you can take those exact same principles and apply them in your training. Simply scan the QR code that's on screen right now or click on the link in the description below to save your seat in the training now. We look forward to seeing you there.
No, so you absolutely don't. And can I tell you this? On Saturday, I experienced, as I sit here now, Brad, I can basically not stand up and sit down. I'm so sore. I've been.
What happened to minimum effective dose, Lindsey?
Exactly. I started running with this group 2 weeks ago, and they're a lot younger and faster than me. And so the first run I did with them, I obviously tried to tuck in there at the back, and that was its own disaster. But now I kind of let them run off and do their own thing. I'm running by myself, but I'm just using that group to kind of get back into proper early morning routines, and just to run a fraction faster, but not too fast. So trying to be disciplined. Anyway, the end of every session, they do the most basic strength body weight routine, a couple of squats and a few other little things. But they do that after 2 or 3 of their sessions a week. So on Saturday, I had a really good run. Finished my run. We were just sitting around chatting, and then the guys were like, right, we're going to do our little routine. So, and they'd done a long run. So their routine this time was literally just deep squats. That's all they did. They did 3 sets, 40, 30, 20 with 40, 30, 30 with 20 seconds between each, but they were full range of motion squats. Okay. And honestly, the reason why I'm telling this story is because if you do a squat properly, for running, there are very few exercises that are better. There are obviously exercises we can do to target specific muscle groups, and if you've got some particular strengths and weaknesses, but that's really where I'm going with this, is that the squat is quite complete, and I never do a deep squat. That I promise you. I do shallow squats and I do single leg squats quite often, but never deep squats. So I joined them for this, and of course, the muscles that work when you're in the deep squat haven't worked, I would hazard a guess, on 3 years. And so I am now in pain. So I'm saying that for a couple of reasons. Number one, it just shows you don't need to go anywhere near a gym. Okay. Number two is there are better times to do strength training than straight after you've done a long run. But effectively, you can do 25 to 40 minutes of strength training pretty much whenever it suits you. Okay. And so if you can find 2 to 3 windows of 20 to 30 minutes where you can do a variety of lower limb body weight exercises, and that's the second point that I want to make, is that for the vast majority of us, body weight exercises are more strength than we've done in years. Not weeks, not months, in years. And so you can then jump in and do body weight exercises, single leg squats, step ups onto a low step, split squats, side squats. You can do some lower ab work. You can do things like planks and stomach crunches. You can do glute bridges. You can do single leg glute bridges to target. You can get some stretch bands that you just wrap around your ankles to do some side lying leg raises, some hip flexor or knee thrusts, some adduction, bringing whipping that around a bench and pulling your leg in towards the midline. So there's just so much stuff that you can do that literally is going to take you 15 to 30 minutes body weight 2 to 3 times a week. And that's going to make a massive difference to your running and a huge difference to your injury risk profile.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to put my hand up, Linz. I've been terrible at it. I really do need to get better at doing this. I love running, and I'm back into the swing of things. I think last week I ran 4 days. The week before I did 4 days, like pretty chilled. And yeah, just loving being. I don't feel like I've lost too much fitness. I just still can't wrap my head around that I ran 90 Ks at the beginning of June. That is just still mind boggling. But yeah, just feeling good and ticking over. So what about someone who's still not feeling great, Lindsay? I mean, we spoke about you should be able to run and feel okay, but there might be a little bit of fatigue if you push harder. But I know that there are people out there who ran Comrades and are just still absolutely flawed. It's probably not good to get caught up in the hype of running a marathon now. You really do want to look after yourself and make sure that you take it a little bit easy, hang out on the dark side a little bit more, and make sure you are 120% recovered.
Yeah, look, and there isn't a rush right now. I mean, Comrades hasn't even announced when their qualifying window is going to be. So we know traditionally it's the 1st of September. For many years, it was basically from the week after Comrades. But the reality is that those are the kind of things that can change. So they probably won't. So probably from the 1st of September is the earliest. But the reality is we don't even know when that window is. So while I do like people to qualify probably November, because that really gives you plenty of time to recover from Comrades, but even some people won't. I certainly know that in the days that I ran Comrades and ran it really hard, August was mentally still too early, and my legs still did feel that little bit of fatigue. September was typically when I felt like, yeah, I can start training hard for something. And we can qualify, remember, all the way up until May next year. And typically we'll try and do that in February, March. But again, it just means you've got a lot of time to play with. So I would still encourage people who feel like that to get active, get moving. But maybe you'll run 3 times a week instead of 4 times a week, and perhaps look at getting on a bicycle and doing some cross training. So get active, but don't force yourself to train hard.
Now's a good time to take up paddle. And we always talk about not playing paddle 2 or 3 weeks before Comrades when you are tapering. If you want to do something different, now's the time to try paddle.
Yeah, look, there was a guy who got his nose out of joint on the Comrades official Comrades page when they released the Comrades plans at the start of last week, and he was like, "Oh, you guys are too obsessed with Comrades. You don't earn any money from this race. You don't have to even be thinking about Comrades now. Do other things. Go hiking. Live a normal life." And of course, you can do that. But one thing that I know is that if you are driven to improve, then my biggest improvement in both my marathon and Comrades running came when I started running all year round. Not training hard all year round, but I was running all year round, because for a long time I was that classic, it's the 1st of January, better get my running shoes out of the cupboard, and then train really hard until Comrades, and then the next 6 months, hardly get a run in here and there. So yeah, I would still be consistent with my training, but keep it quite laissez-faire. If you're still tired, just keep cruising the kilometers, do the odd interval session or park run, just something fun to just bring a little bit of intensity into the equation, but only start training hard when you physically feel ready to start training hard.
Yeah, and it's something that I talk about quite often on this podcast and on the webinars. And I did it. I was like super deliberate about doing it in the build up to Comrades this year, is where I wasn't focusing on Comrades. And I think, I mean, we talk about being physically ready, but like you don't want to be mentally fatigued by the time December comes, because then the first half of next year in the build up to Comrades is going to be really hard. And I think Comrades, because it is such a big thing, people sort of obsess about it, that you feel like, oh, I'm training for Comrades. I mean, it's July and I'm training for Comrades. And I just broke it up into smaller chunks, that I knew that if I needed to run a marathon in October, and then it was a case of I needed to be ready to run another marathon in Feb, I needed to run an ultra marathon in March or April. And if you take care of those steps, then Comrades takes care of itself. You don't actually even have to worry about Comrades, because if you don't do those little things, the big thing's not going to happen anyway.
No, absolutely. And also, one thing I'll tell you is if you have like actual designs on doing your best possible Comrades, okay, and you know, not everybody wants to do that. For a lot of people, doing 2 Comrades, just getting them done, that's all they want to do. For other people, it's just they want to get to 10. Other people just love the camaraderie on the road. They're in love with Comrades. So, you know, they don't have this need to be the absolute best Comrades runner they can be. But if you fall into that category, then honestly, one of the things that you need to do is actually become the best runner you can be. And becoming the best runner you can be is exactly to your point, Brad. It's focusing on your strengths and weaknesses, becoming a more complete athlete. And it's not about focusing for 12 months a year on this one race. It is about, as I said earlier, this is a great time. If one of the things that's holding you back in running is your ability to run fast, then it's maybe focusing on a park run or a 10K. Um, you know, if you want to run a bull run, but you're currently stuck on running 340, 345 marathons, then instead of just continuously focusing on a marathon and then on Comrades, focus on a half marathon. Like bring your half marathon time down where it needs to be for you to be realistic shots at getting to that 330, 335 marathon that you need. So yes, absolutely. Make Comrades your main thing that you're going to do every year, but break the year up into 12 to 16 week blocks so that you can focus on other things and you don't constantly feel the pressure of Comrades in the back of your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think, one of the things I love about the way we do things at Coach Parry is you talk about those 12-week blocks, is you can follow a 12-week 5K training plan or a 12-week half marathon training plan and almost piece them together like you do with Lego and build something that's going to get you to the end result. But you can do it different ways, which is pretty cool. And then, Lindsey, I'm just going to touch on something else that we spoke about on Saturday at this get-together. And maybe this is a housekeeping thing. We need to run this past Comrades, because they were talking about, these guys all did their first Comrades, and they were talking about going back to for the back-to-back, and they don't know if they were going to, you know how it goes. Like, you're not going to go and get the back-to-back, but people are always going to go. So I was thinking of a way that Comrades could actually force people to go and do the back-to-back. And what I thought was they need to do away with the back-to-back medal. That's my suggestion if anybody from Comrades is listening. And what they should actually do is, when you run your first one, only give you half a medal. So you get the one half, and then when you go back next year, you get the other half, and you can put them together. So that's, I think, yeah, if anybody from Comrades is keen to implement that, you can take credit. You don't have to give me credit for it.
I actually was waiting for the punchline, Brad, because as you were saying, take away the back-to-back, I was like, running Facebook is coming for you, my friend.
I think they're still going to come for me if they go with a half a medal. Geez, imagine, Linz. I mean, the Comrades medal, I've still got mine here. It's right by my desk. I mean, it's small enough. Imagine if you had to give somebody half for one. Geez, people would melt. They would explode with anger. You run 90 Ks and you get half of a small medal.
No, absolutely. And people who are familiar with this podcast will certainly have heard this story before. But when my mom's sister ran her first Comrades and her husband walked into the house or the flat we were all staying in and said, "Well, that's it. You are no longer a novice." And I was like, whoa, hang on. She hasn't done an up run yet, and you're a novice until you've run the down and the up. And then the look that my aunt gave me. But she came back and she ran the up. And so she got a back to back, and she's no longer a novice because she did the down run and the up run. But yes, Brad, that is the kind of look you're going to get if we make it official and keep you a novice until you have done both the up and the down.
I think that's a great suggestion. You only get half the medal. I think that's the way it should be. Linz, as always, great to catch up. Look forward to chatting again. We'll get you back on in 4 weeks. Next week, I haven't told you this, but we've got Gerd de Steen on the podcast next week. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Yep, she's going to be joining us, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Linz, as always, great to catch up. Thanks for your time today.
No, brilliant. Keep going well, Brad.